guys, welcome back. Welcome back on this ASMR channel for a new Genshin Impact Bedtime Story ASMR video. Today we are going to do some soft spoken, just because I didn't really feel like whispering today, and I just think that it sounds really good. Just the soft spoken thing in general. So yeah, here we are. I apologize for any background sounds that you can hear. I think I'll just maybe reduce my gain a little bit so that it's maybe less white noise and less, like, I don't know, I can hear like some humming sounds coming from outside and like planes and motorcycles and stuff. So yeah, just in case. Anyways, so today we are going to be reading a new bedtime story. In all honesty, I sadly did not have the best day, and I thought a little bit about what I could do to forget about it and unwind. And not gonna lie, I haven't recorded a video in a while just cause I feel like I don't have much to say these days. Work has been really sucking the energy right out of me. And there we go, my fridge just woke up. So work has been exhausting, and there's a little bit of stress around the wedding preparation as well. So I haven't really been in a mood to record, and like every time I tried, I stopped a couple of minutes in just cause I don't know, I just didn't feel like it. But today I kind of like felt like recording a video, and I just thought that maybe giving the bedtime stories playlist series some love would be a good thing, would be a good idea, because it's been a while since I've done that, and it's been a while since my since I've done a soft spoken video. So I thought that this would be a good idea overall. But yeah, I'm really sorry. I can hear a humming sound coming from outside, aside from like my refrigerator, which is behind me, but I can hear a humming sound coming from outside, and I have absolutely no idea what it is. I just hope that we don't hear it much on the video. Anyways, let's go back on topic. Today I will be reading a story from Sumeru. I have not sadly taken a lot of interest into the Sumeru books, but I was exploring recently in Sumeru. I don't remember, I think I was farming for Nilu, and just the background music is so soothing in Sumeru. I just thought that it would be a good idea to, have some background music on a video, and I thought that a bedtime story was the perfect opportunity for that. So this is why we're taking an interest in a book that we can find in Sumeru, and that talks about Sumeru lore, basically. Yeah. So this book has 2 volumes, and its title is The Tale of Shiruyeh and Shirin. So there are some names that I will probably not know how to pronounce, so I'm sorry for that in advance. I apologize for that in advance. Okay. this book has 2 volumes, as I said, and it is pretty and they are pretty long in my opinion, so it's kind of like reading a very short story, kind of like, maybe, I don't know, around, I don't know, a couple of pages. So maybe like, let's say a chapter or two from like no, you know what, judging by the length, I would say about 4 chapters. That's my opinion. Anyways, let's get started. Make sure you get cozy, make sure you sit back, make sure you relax. That is why we are here for today, both you and I. The Tale of Shiruyeh and Shirin, Volume 1. A genie tells a tale on the night wind, a story about itself and a shepherd. It's a story of unknown origin and is full of absurdities. The next story I'll tell comes from the age of Shiruyeh, the Lord of Pestilence. Though at this time that vassal ruler had not yet gained notoriety for Shiruyeh's plague, nor had his subjects been scattered amidst the word of darkness, left to become wild creatures who had lost their language and faces. The fairy of the moon maiden's city paused for a moment, then stretched out lazily. The moonlit silver coins jangled on her wrists and ankles as if displeased with the jouncing of the stumper beast. Anyway, little raven, do you know the meaning of the name Shiruyeh? One who is ridiculous and despicable? The youth, whom she had rather one-sidedly named Raven, answered casually. Suffering the heat of the sun and the threat of quicksand, he had little interest in his travel companion's stories. In our tribe, Shiruyeh is a disgraceful name branded only to the foreheads of exiled chiefs and spoken only in curses and mockery. It is a tradition of ours, but I am sure that the traditions of other tribes are not so different. Haha, mortal awareness is just like quicksand, shifting with the winds of time. How bizarre, Raven replied perfunctorily, drawing an unexpectedly enthusiastic taunt from the fairy. Now actually, in the lost language, Shiruyeh means unweaned lion cub. His father, Parviz Ravan, gave this name to his newborn son, oblivious that he, the vassal king who referred to himself as the spirit of unceasing victory, would be torn apart by his own beloved lion cub. The fairy paused, seemingly afraid that her audience was getting bored, and exchanged glances with the youth before continuing her tale. As for this Parviz Ravan, legend has it that in the days when mortals ruled as vassal kings, he was one of the mightiest among them. Parviz Ravan was not, in fact, the original name of this vassal king. As the spirits tell it, he was an orphan who was raised in the nest of the giant bird Kongnus and given the name of Kisra, or one who has been bestowed a good name. Later, his aspiration to greatness and the aid of this divine bird saw him adopted by the vassal king Ormazd Shah, and he would eventually rise to become a sage and hero amongst mortals. In the songs of the now vanished desert people, Kisra plundered the four corners of the land in the name of his king, Ormazd Shah. By his hand, the bronze and mortar towers of 99 cities were destroyed or abandoned. By his hand, the leaders of 99 nomadic tribes were defeated. And by his hand, 99 sages with knowledge of the Order of the Stars were bound in golden chains, then led back to the towering royal city of Gorabad to be imprisoned. At that time, the promised land of Ilivy was engulfed by wild, gilded sands, and one of the three living gods had fallen. Amidst a century of chaos and confusion, the scattered mortals ensconced themselves in vassal states until my lord Ahmar and the sage king of the Greenwood gathered their subjects. Once the oasis paradise was reconstructed, the age of the vassal kings, the age of division, finally came to a close. Returning to our preceding tale, Ormast's crown grew all the more valuable on the back of Kisra's exploits, until finally his own neck could no longer bear its weight, forcing him to leave it ever suspended from chains of pure gold in the center of the main hall. The vassal king Ormast Shah rewarded young Kisra's unrivaled achievements amply. He bestowed the name Parvez upon his adopted son and offered his daughter Shirin's hand to him in marriage. In the ethereal songs of the spirit, as the heir of both the mortal vassal king and the foremother Lilfar, she possessed superior wisdom and was blessed with an infinite lifespan, and like the original sages, could foresee the fortunes and misfortunes of the present moment. If Kisra Parvez had stopped there, his reputation as a hero would have continued unblemished. But one cursed day, Ormazd and all 300 of his offspring suddenly died in one night in the city of Qurabad. Following such an unthinkable event, the throne naturally fell to Kisra, who added Ravan to his title and became the most powerful vassal king among mortals. The fairy abruptly stopped her tale and looked up at the red sun that was now sinking behind the sand dunes. She then whistled sharply, signaling to the youth to halt the sumpter beast and prepare to make camp for the night under the crumbling stone pillars. Some people say the fairy literally leaped down from the sumpter beast and circled across the sands in a manner not unlike the long-lost dancers of Sataria, letting the moon's first light evenly coat her translucent skin in its silvery sheen. The scent of myrrh swirled around her myriad braids as the golden bells rang out in the distance. Then the fairy leaned over slightly, balancing on the tips of her toes as she laughed softly. Some people say that the tragedy that befell the city of Qurabad was the handiwork of the hero Kisra. Some people say that the night the tragedy took place, an evil, clawless bird flew out from the redoubt and wailed throughout the night without stopping to eat or drink. The castle was then struck by a plague of rats with human faces which gnawed at the gold chains from which the crown hung, causing the cumbersome thing to crash heavily on the ground, broken and bent. People say that the crown made such an earth-shaking noise when it fell that even the Fellahain servants who had settled and toiled far from the redoubt trembled with fear at this tyrant they had never met. Later still, it is said that an adventurer found the ancient crypt of the city of Qurabad beneath the gilded sands, in which were hidden the withered, massive remains of Ormazd and his offspring. An ancient, inscrutable inscription was left on each of the shriveled bodies. I hope this story frightened you. The fairy watched keenly as the mortal boy before her drank from the water skin. The tribes of the desert regard water with an instinctive restraint and prudence. Spirits, however, are born of pure elemental energy and know neither thirst nor the satisfaction of the pleasure of luxury, just like the ancient Princess Shirin in this lament. As for the daughter of the foremother Lilfar I mentioned, Shirin, why, our story has only just begun. The fairy smiled slyly again, her eyes like an amalgam of amber and gold, her smiling face like the princess of her ancient homeland. The Tale of Shiruyeh and Shirin, Volume 2. At that time, the promised land of Ilivy was engulfed by wild, gilded sands, and one of the 3 living gods had fallen. Amidst a century of chaos and confusion, the scattered mortals ensconced themselves in the vassal states until my lord El-Ahmar and the sage king of the Greenwood gathered their subjects. Once the oasis paradise was reconstructed, the age of the vassal kings, the age of division, finally came to a close. Yes, you've mentioned this part of the story already. The youth stone was rather impatient as he gazed at the full moon hanging in the starry sky, using the positions of its companion stars to determine the next day's route. But the spirit knew that he was, in truth, listening earnestly to her story. She could not refrain from letting out a triumphant snort, but was immediately annoyed by this unbecoming action. The mortal mind is as fickle as it is forgetful. How should I know whether you were listening or not? Back to the subject at hand. Shirin, according to the spirit's lamentations, was the daughter of the mortal hero Ormazd and the fairy Lilufar, the daughter of the water lily. Born upon a lily pad amid fragrant dewdrops, the white ibis blessed her, and the cobra bequeathed to her cerulean pearl, and even the mighty giant crocodile bowed to her in worship. As the foremother of the spirits, before she delivered her daughter to the mortal vassal king, Lilufar prophesied 3 times. First, that Shirin would fall in love with a great hero, and the progeny of their union would surpass their father. Second, that many of Shirin's relatives would enjoy a sweet end. And third, that Shirin alone would be given possession of her father's kingdom. Then Lilufar gave 3 admonitions to her mortal darling. First, that her joy would bring tears to her father's eyes. Second, that they should no longer feast at the same table as their daughter after she was wed. And third, that their daughter's heir would be an ill omen upon the king's land. The king, however, only smiled at these prophecies and admonitions. Later, Shirin's father offered her hand in marriage to the great hero Parvez Ravan, fulfilling the first prophecy, right? The youth said, interrupting the spirit's story. That's correct, though not entirely so. The spirit laid a finger on the tip of the youth's nose, and the latter hurriedly moved away. His face flushed as if he feared she might put some ethereal, deathly curse on him. The spirit once again found herself amused by such an innocent act. By the time Shirin grew a little older and more cognizant, the vision her mother laid out for her became a lingering curse. She spent her days awaiting her chance to fall in love with a hero, waiting for the day when she would inherit her father's kingdom, and longing for that sweet and perfect future, but it never came. Truth be told, Shirin's marriage to the hero Kisra was not a happy one. After all, mortal heroes are all warped people harboring the ambition to rule. The daughter of Lilufar carried the pride of the spirits, and thus she found the golden trap of the mortal hero's supposed affections hard to endure, and she found no peace between the bed and the hearth. And so, at last, a vivid hatred resulted from this passionless, dull, rotten life. The same hatred that those imprisoned in the silver bottle carry. Later, on the night of the infamous grand banquet, a few lowly slaves, mages of the Mazandaran oasis, or perhaps some illiterate Fellahin servers, dripped scorpion venom into musk honey and offered it to the vassal king Ormazd and his 300 heirs. They then watched as they sunk into the sweet, dreamless landscape of death, drowning in the fat and blood of the wretched as their blood and tears flowed freely. And on this night, all who remained with dreams left to enjoy were Shirin, who had been excluded from the party by her own father, and her reluctant co-conspirator and husband, Kisra. The lowly regicides were thereupon submerged in the honey pot as punishment by the new king, and they cursed him with their last breaths as they choked on the sticky honey. And from the new king's mouth gushed blackened, dirtied, and bloody lies which gradually stained his hero's reputation a deep black. And so the second prophecy was fulfilled. Later, Shiruyeh, the son of Kisara Parvizravan, grew to adulthood beloved by his mother, but was banished by his father from the towering city of Kurabad. Made by his father to hide his face and flee on a fast steed, Shiruyeh was henceforth forbidden from setting foot in the city again. Undoubtedly terrified of the fairy mother Lilufar's warning, it was Parvizravan's fixation that gave rise to the cowardice that spurred this decision. And so, Shirin once again found the perfect opportunity for revenge in the vassal king's unfettered fear. One night, she disguised herself as a divine princess of the temple to the moon goddess and met with her prodigal son who has sojourned there. In the lingering silvery light that danced amidst the dew-dotted lilies, she gave the masked wayfarer this false, illusory prophecy. Is the tyranny of the wanderer's father not his greatest misfortune? Oh, darling of the moon goddess, everywhere the moonlight touches is yours to rule, and every seed you sow shall grow and flourish. Since the moonlight has granted you a good bow and a sharp blade, why do you suffer the coward idling upon the throne? Why not muster up the courage to face your hatred, to face yourself? Legend has it that just as Shiruyeh hesitated in indecision, a gust of wind rushed through the night and blew the veil Shirin had used to conceal her face away. Seeing that familiar face, the young man who had been forced to cover his was instantly overcome with terror and shame. He fled the sullied temple in a panic, and laughter soft as the ringing of a bell in the cruel moonlight bore witness to his fear. The story from here is a lackluster one. The peerless vassal king Parvizravan would be stabbed to death in his bed by his own masked and filial son, and his magnificent bed, once adorned with sapphire and golden animal horns, would be indelibly stained with his blood. The dirge of the spirits then goes like this. After committing this crime of treason, Shiruyeh wept bitterly before his mother Shirin in repentance. But Shirin did not reprimand him. Rather, she took her beloved son into her arms, removed the brass mask symbolizing his exile, and left him with an affectionate kiss of benediction. After Shiruyeh claimed the throne and was long tormented by inescapable nightmares until finally, on a frenzied night of wandering, he fell into a deep black chasm in the earth and disappeared. Later, a great plague emerged from that chasm and swallowed up half of the souls in the city of Kurabad. The kingdom, having lost its vassal king and his servants, fell into ruin and was gradually devoured by that insatiable yellow sand. The scattered survivors of this calamity called it Shiruyeh's plague, the divine retribution invited by the absurdly short-lived despot himself. As for his mother Shirin, Lilufar's third prophecy was indeed fulfilled. She and the heir she bore won true freedom in a kingdom ravaged by vengeance, and they became evil apparitions, death knells to the conceited. Some people say that Shirin was later subdued by my lord Al-Ahmar, who detained her in a magic silver bottle. Others say that she still roams the desert, tormenting overconfident adventurers and tirelessly searching for the beloved child that she lost to that dark world. The fairy smiled proudly, having theatrically concluded the story. At this time, The moon was already high in the sky, and the distant ancient time when the desert had not yet become a desert was nigh. It was time for the divine princess to hold the sacrifice. Okay, you guys, I don't know what you thought about this one, but it was really thrilling to read because, like, it was not at all what I thought it would be. Looking at the cover, you can see a woman and a man kind of like standing next to each other, and like if you don't think about it too much, it can just look like a romance novel, and that's what I thought it was going to be, and not at all. I love that like we have different kinds of characters, and it's not at all what I expected. It was really thrilling to read, especially at the end, like the last sentence that says it was time for the princess to hold the sacrifice. Because like I had, like towards the middle of the second volume, I kind of like had suspicions that the fairy was Shirin, but well, I'm still not sure about that, but I felt like maybe she was. And I feel like to understand the whole thing, I think there is in like a like I noticed that there is a prequel to this book which I had not noticed before, because like in the description of the book it says, which I had not read by the way, it says the series is a sequel to the quest item book The Shepherd and the Magic Bottle, featuring the same two core characters, the genie in the magic bottle and the human boy she calls Raven. Shoot, maybe I should have read that one first, but I feel I can still like understand what is happening, so it's okay. Maybe the next book we read can be The Shepherd and the Magic Bottle, especially since I just checked it out. It's not that long, it's like one volume, and it's really not that long, so it could be interesting to read. I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, you guys, I hope you were able to enjoy this one, whether you put it in the background while you were gaming, studying, working, or whether you put it on to go to sleep or to take a nap. So, I think it is time for me to wish you a good night or a good nap, or if you're using ASMR to try and focus on a task or a chore, or even some schoolwork that you're trying to complete, well, good luck with that. I will see you again very, very soon for a new video.